Hello everybody, in this video we're going to create a pattern mockup on a piece of fashion. So one of the first things we want to do is, with our pattern already made, what we're going to do is we're going to go online and we're going to find the piece of fashion that we want to overlay our pattern. In this case, I'm going to do the hoodie of a person. So I'm going to type in man in a gray hoodie. Look for something plain without any text on it. After finding that, select it and save it. If it shows up as a non-JPEG file, open it up, duplicate it, and what you can do is save that duplicate as a JPEG, and that will pop up on your screen. So you can throw away the web protected file and keep the duplicate and put it on Photoshop. Let's talk about the quick selection and quick mask tool. So the area I want to overlay the pattern on is this hoodie. So I'm going to unlock the layer and I'm going to select the quick selection tool. It's located under the lasso tool. If you click and hold, quick selection. This is a good time to have the navigator. We're going to zoom in, and what we're going to do is we're going to map out and select a precise cutout of this hoodie. So go somewhere inside the hoodie and start dragging the selection tool around until you start grabbing the edges. There are going to be some difficult areas that you run into where the selection might get too large and add too much, and we'll talk about that in a second. But try to get the majority of the selection of it. As you can see in this, my hoodie gets very light on the outer edges, so it's tried to select the background as well. If you have to work back a selection, you can hold down the Option key to create a negative selection, and you can walk your selection back to a more appropriate area and start again. So here I was able to bring it back onto the shirt, but I'm going to zoom in so I can grab those pixels a little easier. And when you use the selection tool, it acts like a brush, so you can make the brush of the selection tool larger or smaller. And I'm going to work a little slower as I guide it through, grabbing and magnetizing to the pixels I want it to. It's not going to be perfect on mine, while on another picture that has more contrast, you can get a really easy cutout. Again, I over-selected here into the hand, so I'm going to hold the Option key and drag up and take away from that background space. Now, notably, we're going to talk about the Quick Mask tool in a little bit that aids you in creating a more accurate selection. When I hit Q on my computer keyboard, everything that's red goes into what I'm not selecting, and everything that's not in red is what I'm currently selecting. So it's a great preview to see what I've selected and what's still left to select or take away. So anytime you want to go into Quick Mask mode, you hit Q, and then you can hit Q again to get out of it. So you can always double check your selection. Notably, in Quick Mask mode, you're also able to add and take away from your selection with the mouse, like you're painting it in and painting it out, which I'll do with the sleeve in a second. So I think I've done a pretty good job so far cutting it out. Again, what's in red is not what I selected. I'm going to double check up here, see what I selected. Yep, everything's cut out pretty well there. But I do notice that on the right-hand side of his body, it's a pretty rough selection of his shoulder and left arm. So what I'm going to do is use the brush tool when I'm in Quick Select. White means to add any of my picture in, and black means to take away. So I'm going to make sure that my brush is set to maybe more of a tighter brush with a pretty high hardness to it, so I can do a clean erasure. Put at 100% opacity. What I'm going to do is double check around what I need to add and take away, make my brush smaller, and with the white added there, you're going to see that I'm able to add that back in, and I'm going to create, as accurate as I can, an outer edge to that sweater. And this is going to affect and enhance my selection. So notice how my selection just was, and now you're going to see, after I do this, it will improve my selection of that arm. Again, this is in Quick Mask mode, and you hit a Q to get into it while you have a selection active. So just cleaning that up. If I hit black, that means to take away from the selection. I noticed I accidentally selected some of the background. It got a little less reddish, so I'm just cleaning and wiping that so that selection is made. A lot more accurate. With that done, now I hit Q to get out of quick mask mode. You can see my selection cutout of that arm is a lot better now. It looks a lot more natural. So that's an invaluable tool to use, the quick mask. Now what we're going to do is simply copy and paste our selection. It's going to create a new layer, and we're going to be able to do a pattern overlay like we've done. So we're going to talk about blend modes too. So with that new layer selected, which is just our hoodie, we can go here to where it says normal in a second, and that's our layer 0, which was our original layer of the man in the hoodie. Got to make sure we go to FX and we hit pattern overlay. Now with our pattern selected, we have the ability here set on overlay mode. We can try other modes too, but here we have the ability to shrink, enhance our pattern layout on that hoodie. It's only going to fit itself into that hoodie and nothing else. That's why we cut out the hoodie. So I can play with angles and with scale of any pattern I choose. Click OK. But we can see that my lighting effects are too rough. So under here, I'm going to go to multiply, and I'm going to check different blend modes to see how my hoodie might appear. Some photographs you get an instant great layout. In this one per se, I'm trying to see what gives me the best overall look. And I think multiply gives me the best look for here. We are going to do some improvements to make our hoodie stand out a little bit better. But that was our first effect we wanted to do. And this is where you're going to have to play as an artist to adjust and work other layouts into your piece a little bit better than others. So I'm just going to play with the scale. You can see that with the multiply mode, my hoodie layout with the pattern looks a little stronger than it did before. Now as I go through here, I'm going to double check. As I go through these different ones, I'm going to click multiply also on my pattern overlay, and I get a deeper, richer, enhanced look here, and I still am able to get the shadows. I can play with the opacity of my pattern, and I can try different types of blend modes as well, like how does soft light look? Looks washed out. How does screen look? Extremely washed out. Some will look overexposed, underexposed. Some will flip the colors around, such as luminosity will actually transfer it to black and white. Hue doesn't do anything. Saturation. Trying these different pattern blend modes might have you see something you never thought was possible in your look. So I do like linear burn a lot here, and I'm going to play again with the layout, and I can also play with the angle. Make sure to play with these blend modes to see what makes your design the most attractive. So not only can you do this on clothing, you can do this on hats with selections, you can do this on anything your heart desires. Good luck.